Hi everyone, Vicki here from Brain Injury Hawke's Bay. Welcome to our community collaborators. Today I have Danielle with me from New Zealand Rugby. Thank you so much for being with me, Danielle.
Hey Vicki, no, it's a pleasure to join you. Thanks for having me on.
I'd like to start by telling us a bit about your role.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I work with New Zealand Rugby, so I've been there since 2017. And in my role, my title is research analyst, which probably doesn't mean a lot, but what I do is kind of half of my role is working with Super Rugby. So I do their injury surveillance. So I look at all the injuries that happen in Super Rugby and kind of look at the injury trends and patterns there. And then the other half of my role is with New Zealand Rugby Smart. So in that role, I work specifically in the community concussion pathway. So what we kind of do in that space is kind of take a step back and look at, you know, what are our goals and how can we better manage concussions? So really kind of from that, it all centers around kind of three primary goals. And those are, one, to make sure that if somebody does get concussed, that we get them off the field. And then the second one is that we get them into a doctor for a diagnosis. And kind of the third one is that before they go back to contact training, that they're medically cleared by a GP.
Excellent. So yeah, that's a really interesting role across lots of different areas. Must be really interesting.
Yeah, well, and I think, you know, that's the really cool thing is, you know, we could do a really great job on one area, but, you know, if we potentially say we improve, you know, across New Zealand, we really focus on increasing players' knowledge. But the problem is if the players know more, so they know potentially when they're feeling like a concussed, you know, the challenge is if they go to the GP and the GP is not aware of the guidelines or is not comfortable with the guidelines, you know, that becomes a bit of a barrier. Or, you know, the players may know what a concussion symptom is, but they may not come off the field. So, you know, how do you empower coaches and team managers to know what to look for? So it's just kind of taking a step back and being like, hey, how do these relate to our goals, and who do we have to connect with to achieve those goals, and kind of taking a big picture approach.
And we definitely find that in the work we're doing, you know, around concussion too. It's just that awareness. It's getting everybody on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, which is simple, but not simple, you know, simple idea, but can be difficult to implement.
For sure. And, you know, and a lot of that stems from the fact that, you know, you don't want to let your teammates down, you know, you don't want to come off for 3 weeks. You want to keep playing. So, you know, we know that players often won't report when they think they may be concussed. So, you know, how do we educate coaches to get them off the field? But, you know, also looking at players are really important, but they're also really important to know how, you know, the coach is not going to see everybody. So, you know, how do you empower a player to be like, hey, you know, Susie's not looking so great. Maybe I should get her off the field because, you know, I don't want anything bad to happen to Susie. So it's just being about identifying where we can target those messages the best, and who, you know, and how do we make those messages powerful to those people we're trying to hit.
Absolutely. And the more people that are aware of it, hopefully, you know, the more people there are to step up and help each other out.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, you know, and just like anything, concussion is just an injury, you know, and if we do the right things and we make sure that, you know, you recover fully before you go back, you know, everybody, hopefully in 99% of the time, you know, everybody, you should be fine to go back to play. So it's just about making sure that you do the right things for that.
Absolutely. And that's a message we spread a lot. Let's deal with the concussion, get you better and get you back. We're not trying to stop people from being in sports. Sport's brilliant. No. We want everyone involved. Just be well, just recover and continue.
No, absolutely, for sure.
So Danielle, I thought it would be interesting today if you could share with us a bit about your baseline testing app.
Yeah, no, for sure. So what we've done is, so if, I don't know if you're familiar with what happens at kind of Super Rugby or any of our national teams. So what happens is, for those players, when they come in, when they come together for the season, the doctor will do a baseline test. What they do in a baseline test is called a SCAT, which is a sport concussion assessment tool. So what it does is just kind of gets a measure of their memory, how they're thinking, a little bit of a gauge on how their balance is. And it just kind of measures those start of the season, you know, while their brain's supposedly healthy or normal, you know. So we've got something to compare you to. So the idea then is, you know, if one of those players takes a knock or a hit to the head or, you know, hits the ground and comes up and you're like, oh, I'm not sure about you, that player comes off, and then what will happen is either the team doctor or the match day doctor will reassess that player. And what they can then do is say, well, you know, Susie's memory wasn't great to begin with, and she's come off, and we've tested her memory, still not very good, but it hasn't changed much. So it just gives them some, you know, it's not going to be diagnostic, so it's not going to say, yeah, Susie's concussed or she's fine. But what it does is it does give that doctor some information to say, hey, you know, with some of this information I've seen, I've heard from the player, and these measures, I can kind of make a strong case that I do think they're concussed and they should be off the field, or they're not, and they should try to go back.
Right.
So really, with that, and that process, I guess, at the super level takes about 10 minutes to do.
Yeah.
So in reality, 10 minutes, you know, if you've got 35 kids for your under 14 team, that's a lot of time to be spending, you know, just getting baseline testing. So what we wanted to do is, can we take that process and apply it to the community sphere? So what we did is we kind of got a bunch of GPs in a room and said, here's all the components, all the things that you do as part of the SCAT. Can we get rid of some that potentially are difficult to do or you don't find super helpful? And can we chop it down so it's hopefully still helpful, but also that, you know, is reasonable to do if you're looking to do, you know, your under 14s team. So what we've done is we've reduced it down to something that takes about 5 minutes to do. So the idea is, and we've worked with a number of the teams in the Hawke's Bay will come in the preseason. So myself or, you know, their physio or, you know, somebody will come in and we'll baseline test the kids. And the idea is it takes about 5 minutes to do. And you just start with, you know, your immediate memory. So you get a list of 10 words. That player has to repeat back as many words they can remember. Then we go through some symptoms. Then you do kind of the numbers, strings of numbers in reverse, the months, the year in reverse. We do kind of a dynamic coordination where you have to walk a straight line, turn around, walk back. And then we do a delayed recall where the words that we started with, you have to remember those 10 words, which a lot of people struggle with the first time they do it. But the idea is that's stored in. And here, I'll just share my screen with you, Vicki.
Awesome. And we've been involved in some of this testing with you, and it's such a simple app to use. You can just jump on and it's, you know, self-explanatory. It's really great to use.
Yeah, and you know, honestly, we have we've been working with Gary from Hawke's Bay Rugby Union, and I will go to limb and say Gary's probably not the most technologically savvy. I think it was probably the first time he'd ever used a smartphone, but you know, we got him through it, so it's relatively easy to do. And the cool thing is we've set it up so that, you know, you got 5 parents or, you know, 5 people together, you could do a team in half an hour.
Yeah,
you know? It's relatively easy.
Simple.
So can you see that all right, Vicki? Yep.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about here, so is preseason here in the blue square, we come in and do the baseline assessment. And then what happens is that baseline assessment saves on your phone. And then we have for each team, we call them the team lead, but usually that's either a team manager, it can be the coach, it can be a physio, or it can be a parent. Kind of has access to all this information on their phone. So what happens is, you know, if we're at a game on Saturday and Susie's, you know, falls and hits her head on the field and we pull her off thinking, oh, we think she might have sustained a concussion. What happens then is that team lead, so the person, either the coach or the physio or manager, will log into the app and then they'll find Susie. And what happens there is they tick on Susie's name and then they'll get a button that says log a suspected concussion. And then it'll just walk you through some information. So what we term are kind of red flags. And, you know, if you've attended a Rugby Smart course or maybe done your guys' concussion-wise program, you know, the red flags are signs that this is not a concussion, it's something more serious. So what it does is just kind of walks you through those steps. So the idea is, you know, if there are any red flags present, you tick on them and say, hey, this person's complaining of unusual levels of neck pain. You tick on that and it says, hey, you need to go to a doctor right away. So it'll give you that information. But so they tick on that. And if there's none of those, that's great. You know, they just collect that information. But then also say before you sign off, make sure you tell this player that, you know, they shouldn't go to sleep for the first 4 hours. They shouldn't be alone. You know, they shouldn't be driving home by themselves. You know, they shouldn't be drinking alcohol or doing drugs. So it just kind of walks you through some information that's important for you at that stage. And then what happens is once that's done, An email goes out to that player, particularly from their high school. It also goes to their parents. There's also notification that goes to the school. So often with a number of the schools we're working with in Hawke's Bay, that's the school nurse that gets notified. And also somebody from the Hawke's Bay Rugby Union. So we go through there, and then the email that goes to the player and parent contains a code. And what happens is we've set up with some GPs in the area. We've got one in each of the region cities now in Hawke's Bay. As you go into this GP with your code, you give that code to the GP, and what will happen is they can pull up your baseline. They repeat that same test, but what they're able to see is they're able to compare how you're doing now to your baseline score. So for example here, I can kind of quickly show you.
And that's such a great tool for the GPs to be able to have, because everyone's got different abilities to start with. So to be able to compare the right things. Yeah,
well, then, you know, and to be fair to the GPs, there's so much information coming out about concussions and how to best manage it. It's really difficult to stay on top of that information. Yeah. So really what this does is it gives them a step-by-step process to go through. So what we kind of do is I pretended I was a GP, and sorry, I should have indicated. So on that last page, this is the code that I would get in that email notification. So in the email that goes out here, I get, usually it's my email, your email or your last name, and then you get a specific code to you. So what I'll do is I'll put in, you know, my email, and then I'll put in the access code. So this is just access a dummy player here. And then this is the first time I've seen a GP, so I'm going in for a diagnosis visit. And what that does is this is some of the information that we capture when you've been baseline tested. So, you know, your concussion history, and what we term are yellow flags, which potentially indicate that a lot of times if you have some of these, we know that they're more likely to have symptoms for longer. Yeah. But what happens then is, just for example, so you can see, is the GP will go through this process, but what you can see here is I smoked it. I did really well on my immediate memory, which is those 10 words that you asked me at the start of preseason. So for each trial, I got all 10 right. So you can see they're highlighted in red here. But say if you're retesting me, and I'm not doing very well, you'll be able to see that my results are well below what I was at baseline. And you can also do the same. So here's those symptoms that we go through. So you can kind of see how I normally would feel. And then you can compare it, you know, if I'm really not doing well.
And because that's often the thing, isn't it, with concussion symptoms, headaches, tired, dizzy, those can be standard feelings that some people would have.
Totally. And what we're seeing is, you know, we've just got some baseline results that we've done just on the analysis of the last 2 years of data we had. So we're just looking to publish this. Oh, cool. But what we kind of see is that on average, most people are going to report 6 to 8 symptoms. Yeah. And their scores are going to be between 6 and 16. So, you know, most of us, 99% of us, are not going to be all zeros, you know, on a normal day. So it just gives them something to compare what's normal to. So you can kind of see here, I'm well below where I was. I'm a lot worse than where I was at baseline. So, you know, my baseline symptom count was 19 and my score was 32, where now I've hit all of them. So I've got 21 and my score is 63. So it just gives you a bit of something to compare to. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, great.
So then what happens if we go back to that diagram here? What happens then is, so you go through this process and then the GP says, yeah, you're concussed. So an email goes out saying, you know, to these people saying this player's been seen by a GP. They then will give you some information about how to get back to school, how to get back to learning. And then you go back to the GP, you give them that same code, and then they do a medical clearance section. So what happens there, if we go to the bottom here, what'll happen is, this will happen in the medical clearance section, is the GP will go through this process where you're rested, you're returned to your normal scores, you've done the graduated return to play, you're fully back to schoolwork, you're not getting worse when you exercise, and then they'll say you're cleared to return to contact or you're not, and that'll generate emails going out to the school and the parents,
cool.
the PU saying, you know, Billy's been given the green light or he's not. So
excellent. And it just does give that opportunity for everybody to be on the same page.
Yeah. So I guess, and that's kind of the key thing is what we've said here is none of what we're doing is new or rocket science, but we're just trying to provide a pathway where hopefully what would normally happen in, you know, in a rugby game, your coach would give mom and dad a call, but this just streamlines it so nobody has to chase that up and everybody's across what's going on.
Excellent. Yeah, it's such a great initiative. So where to next for the app?
So what we're looking at probably, and this is in conversation with ACC, so currently we're working in 3 provincial unions across New Zealand. So the idea would be we'd probably roll out to more unions, open it up to more unions across New Zealand. But we're also looking at potentially in the unions that we are already established in, is potentially opening it up to other sports. So, you know, working with maybe soccer or netball, just so we can, you know, see if it's something that's worth exploring, you know, across all high school sports. Yeah.
It's a story we hear all the time. You know, someone was concussed on Wednesday at basketball and they're playing rugby on the weekend and rugby coach doesn't know. So it would just be amazing to have that communication across all the sporting codes.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's, you know, and that's something really exciting too, is in early stages, but it sounds like ACC's going to adopt New Zealand Rugby's graduated return to play guidelines. So that will apply across all sports, which will be cool.
Yeah, great to have the same message going across everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. Because again, you know, a concussion that happens in rugby is no different than a concussion that happens in basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the same, you know, what we talk about a lot is we talk about rugby concussion a lot, but it's the slips, trips and falls, everyday standard stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that's where you're likely to get concussions. So to have the same information going across everywhere is excellent.
Yeah, no, for sure. Totally. And again, you know, you're more likely to get concussed pulling, you know, clothes out of the washing machine and hitting your head on the dryer above than, you know, playing rugby. So it's just trying to put it into a bit of perspective. Concussions are always going to happen. It's just how can we make sure people are looked after?
Absolutely. Just recover and get back to it.
Yeah, no, totally.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time today, Danielle. Really
You're welcome.
Appreciate speaking to you. Such interesting stuff and exciting to see where it all goes.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was my pleasure, Vicki.
Thanks, Danielle.
Yeah, cheers.